What happens when we get to September 30th and they have not been able to pass these appropriations bills?
Well, then obviously you could have a partial government shutdown if they did nothing. But that's why once they get back in September, the focus is going to pivot to passing some kind of stopgap measure that just extends current funding levels for probably a few months is what they normally do. If they can pass that, but even that in this environment is going to be a pretty heavy lift because the Freedom Caucus folks aren't going to like that much. And there's also this part of the debt limit deal had a provision where if they don't pass these bills by January 1st, they would have to do a 1% across the board cut. And so you may see an effort to pass a stopgap, but with the 1% cut or some kind of cut worked into it. And then Democrats are going to object to that. And, you could see this getting pretty hairy. Plus, we haven't even talked about what could get attached to a stop. Once you put a stopgap funding measure on the floor, all kinds of things can get attached to it because it's sort of the must-pass vehicle. And there's a push building to do a supplemental emergency spending bill, right? And we've been looking because the disaster relief fund is actually running out of cash this month in August. You've got hurricanes, you've got the Florida lawmakers already worried about hurricane relief and that there's not going to be enough money in this fund to provide that federal aid. And who knows when the White House is going to prepare a new request for Ukraine aid, border security. You can see there will be a pent-up demand, at least in the Senate, for emergency spending beyond this. And then do they attach that to the stopgap funding measure? And then the House objects to that. And, this could be chaos, which is why a lot of people are fearing, my God, maybe the whole government just shuts down for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Even in the case of just passing a clean CR, I think is problematic, right? Where there aren't any riders attached. If everybody agrees, okay, we're just going to pass a clean CR to keep the government open, that's a problem just because the CR continues not only last year's spending, but last year's policies, right? And there are a lot of House Republicans that object to policies that were implemented last year when Democrats controlled the House, the Senate, and the White House.
Right. And for the Freedom Caucus folks, just continuing last year's levels or the current year's levels means you're continuing at spending levels that they oppose, that are much higher for domestic spending than they want to see. So why are they going to support a stopgap funding measure, what you call the CR, the continuing resolution for the budget wonks out there? They have no incentive. And we even had a few Freedom Caucus members say the other day, a government shutdown isn't really that bad. People won't even notice it. So some of them are not even afraid of a government shutdown. They weren't here, of course, to live through the past government shutdowns where, neither party looks good when there's a government shutdown. It blows back on both of them. Anyone who's been through it before is eager to avoid doing it again. But for new members of Congress who are very conservative, I don't think that's much of a deterrent for them. Right. They'd welcome the fight. So who knows? It's going to be a real battle just to get a CR passed.